All right, hey there, it's your good friend Robert Plank. We are live, or at the very least, I hope that we're live. I'm gonna do a little checky check here and make sure that I am live on my own page. Well, I was live. Let's see if we are actually live. And by the way, if you are joining us on the live stream, can you just take a second and say hi to me? Just go in that oops, let me show myself again. Go down there in the chat area and just say hi because um I like as an attendee of some of the live streams, I forget that not everyone see they usually don't see like your name show up when you appear live unless you say something. So pretty please say something so I know that you're there. And so in about 10 minutes, I'm going to be calling. Let me put this on our group too. I'm going to be calling a dude on Skype, and his name is Scott Volker, and I he has a pretty cool podcast called the Amazing Seller Podcast, and we're gonna talk to him and we're gonna ask him a couple of questions about Amazon FBA and Amazon selling and stuff like that. So as I'm getting all ready here, let's see. So I need to find him in my handy dandy spreadsheet. So we're gonna see. Uh, he's coming up next, and I need to make sure that I have him added on Skype. So it looks like I do. And so you know what? I don't know. Like when I wanna sort of avoid anyone thinking that I'm like a workaholic or that I put in that many hours in our business. And I mean, I used to, but what I do now is I focus on the right things. I focus on just sitting down, knocking something out, and then it's done. An appointment-based business, so to speak. And so what really helps is this thing called a spreadsheet. And so I should probably hide a couple of things, hide column. And so basically, I have this spreadsheet to keep myself organized and to tell myself exactly where I'm at. So right now, we're about to interview this guy, Scott, and actually, I'll make a sort of thing right there. Okay, so, whoops, I think, let's see here. That is incorrect. All right. So I have the spreadsheet that basically tells me exactly where I'm at. And it looks like I did one too many things, so let me just undo all this and get back to where I was at. All right, so I want to hide and I want to hide. So we'll just keep Scott down there for a second, and when Scott's episode is live, and we'll resort this later and all that good stuff. And I know that I've interviewed these people. Great. So whenever Scott's interview goes live on January 18th, that'll be episode number 226. So I have sort of this spreadsheet to help me out here and so tell me what I need to know, right? And so all I need to know is I have some stuff on my Google Calendar and I have this appointment coming up. And I just sort of refine the system. I sort of get better and better at it, right? And so at first I had this Google sheet, and at first I just had a list of like a name and a date, and then I ended up working in like these check boxes, these things I had to do. And I don't know, every couple of weeks with the podcast interviews, it gets a little easier. And so let me make sure I got my piece of paper ready here, and we're gonna call Mr. Scott on Skype, and we'll see if he's okay with us live streaming the podcast. Before I forget, let me turn down my encoding. Um, Audio bit rate. Yeah, let's just turn stuff down there. Okay, so it might be a little more pixely on Facebook, but I don't want it to affect the call quality with Mr. Scott from the Amazing Seller podcast. So you know what really sort of convinced me to switch over to this interview model was just seeing how easy it was, and I'm thinking that some of you are sort of in the same boat where you might have thought about, well, podcasting or having an interview show or things like that, and it really is like super easy to get content this way, but I wasn't really convinced until I saw Lance do it a couple of times, and until I hopped on Lance's show and he interviewed me, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like there was nothing to it. You just kind of ask a few questions and actually listen. And a lot of times, I'm just gonna have a piece of paper right here. I just have his name here so I don't screw it up. And I'm just gonna, if I think of something or if he like make, usually I look for in my interview guests, I look for them to like list a couple things, like give me like a list of like 3 or 4 bullet points. That becomes the show notes. I have someone type up the whatever my chicken scratch is here, and then that becomes the notes on the blog post. So yeah, so I'm going to be doing that, and like I said, I'll be calling him on Skype. We'll be recording it. If he says no, he can't record it, which I doubt he will, but if he does, I might have to just hang up on you guys real quick. If the call quality on Skype sort of slows down, because here in Turlock, California, even though we're located like 2 miles away from a California State University, the internet connection sometimes, I don't know if it gets throttled or what, but sometimes it really slows down. So if any of those things happen, I might just have to hang up on you. But hopefully, you guys can kind of see what happens. And he's one of my most high profile guests yet. And I'm super excited about it. And so, one thing I want to show you in the remaining 5 minutes or less before I call him is one thing that really makes a huge difference in the podcasting and in the interviews, which we teach you in Podcast Crusher, is the scheduler. So what happens is if like I send out a bunch of emails, and basically the way the numbers work is about half of the people that man, my chair keeps slipping. Maybe I gotta grease it up or something. But half the people I contact for an interview, about half of them say yes, I'll do it. And every now and then someone flakes, but then they can reschedule. But what saves, I mean, that's a huge time saver. I mean, this saves you from having to have a full-time assistant. I send them to a page like this, and right now I'm super booked up. Which I mean, I'm not super booked up, but all of my slots are filled. I do about 3 or 4 on a Monday and a Friday, and I've also actually blocked out most of the holidays as well. So right now, if someone wants to interview me, they have to wait until Friday, February 17th, but still that gets them on the schedule. Now, somebody canceled on me today because I think like her computer crashed or internet connection, I forget, and I said no big deal, just go and reschedule. The person said, okay, I'll reschedule on Friday, only a couple slots left, and then that gets their appointment with me right there on the calendar. And so that's one huge part of it. That like you don't have to do back and forth figuring out time zones. It gets on the calendar. Then the other thing that's super super hugely helpful that I don't think I've shown anyone. So maybe if you're watching out there, Mr. Lance, I have another thing here. So one thing about this is here we go. So not only does it allow someone to set a time slot with you, it synchronizes with Google Calendar, but it also sends out emails. Ooh, I got a time crunch, got 3 minutes. Okay. It also sends out emails reminding the person to show up. And so what I've done is I've done a personalize here, and we can throw this in the members area in podcastcrusher.com. But basically, uh, coming up to the podcast, they get these couple of sentences just to sort of save time, so they sort of know where we're at. And I repeat back to them the information they gave me, their email address, their Skype information, their bio. And then what I said here is, I'm looking forward to interviewing you. Here's my Skype username, and then it plugs in the date and time that we agreed on. And then it says, make sure Skype is on, because sometimes people don't have it on. Then I call them and can't get through. And then I say, here's how to allow calls from anyone, just so that my call doesn't get blocked. And then finally, here's the thing: is I don't like to plan it out. Here's the length of time we'll talk. I'll start with the bio, and I'll ask about your website. So all the information they need, but kind of in a condensed format, right? Paragraph one, here's the details. Paragraph two is just the Skype thing, and then paragraph three, or sentence three, I guess, is what the exact interview will be. No planning, no pre-interview, none of that stuff. And then I've sort of tweaked this as well, where you can remind people as much as you want. I think by default it reminds them like a day or 2 days before. So I just sort of tweak this so that it reminds them not exactly the day before, because I don't want them thinking, oh my gosh, 9 o'clock. It reminds them 23 hours before. So they say, okay, well, it's later. It's not today, it's tomorrow. And then so that's a little more obvious there. And then it sends this an hour before, so that way they're at the computer. And then 10 minutes before, that way, once they're at the computer, then Skype is on. And so that's what I wanted to show you, and I want you to see how easy this is. I mean, we'll see if it'll be live, so anything can happen. And I'll check and see. Ooh, we got some comments. Looks like. Let's see who is watching the live show right now. We have Mr. Marcus Walker. Cool, the man, the myth, the legend himself. And you know what, Mr. Marcus? I mean, Dr. Charles should be doing this. He should be. he should be at least showing up on other people's shows. I think that'd be really cool. So I mean, close enough to 9 o'clock, and we'll close this down. And here we go. And I've got to remember to looks like he's away, but I've got to remember, and I've got to make sure it's the right time too. That I got to ask him if it's okay that we are recording here. Looks like uh, he's here. So let's get this started. I hope you can hear his end. We'll see. Ringing, ringing.
The person whom you're trying to reach is currently unavailable.
Oh
Please leave a
no.
message after the beep.
Hey, Mr. Scott Volker, it's Robert Plank. We had an appointment for me to interview you for my show. I'll shoot you the link to reschedule. Sorry I missed you. If you're still there, call me back. If not, I'll catch you when I catch you. Thanks a bunch later. Looks like he is online now, but sometimes that just means it took his computer out of sleep. So what I'll do is hopefully he'll call me back in a second here, and if not, I'll just get that scheduler sent to him. Sometimes these things happen, and actually, let's see, I'll say copy link address. Hi Scott, we had a scheduled meeting for me to interview you for my show. Please call me back in the next couple of minutes if let's see, if you're there. If not, here is the link to reschedule. Darn it. So I mean, sometimes when you're dealing with those celebrities, sometimes they got something else going on. Ooh, looks like he's typing. All right. So I mean, live stuff happening here. He's typing. He's typing. We'll see if he's typing from the phone or if he can't make it. So he says, "Hey Robert, sorry, I'm good now." Uh-oh. So what does "I'm good now" mean? So "I'm good now" mean like, are we here? Are we not here? All right. So he says he's good now. Okay. So I'm good now. Cool. So are you ready? I mean, I'm assuming good now means we're going. So let's see. Let's see. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So we'll try it again. Let's see.
Hey, Robert.
Hey, what's happening?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm super fantastic. I'm bummed I didn't get to see Rogue One today, but life goes on, right?
Yeah, I guess.
So, what are we talking about today? Amazon selling stuff?
Sure, that sounds cool with me.
All right, cool. Yeah, like I just kind of like to sort of go fast and loose. And I mean, anything in
Yeah.
particular that's on your mind about that these days?
No, I just think the biggest thing is, I mean, depending on, your audience and where they are in the process. I mean, if you just talk about the Amazon review stuff and they're not familiar with the Amazon platform, then you kind of be lost. You know what I mean? So I guess
Right.
I'll let you guide that. But I mean, there's definitely some things we can talk about, within 2016 to 2017, some of the changes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think that some of my audience is doing the Amazon stuff, but I mean, always good to catch people up or get sort
Yeah.
of new people interested. And I mean, yeah, like some of those, like I've sort of phased out FBA a lot for me, but like some of those groups, like man, there's some scary stuff going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why our whole plan moving forward really is, yes, you're validating and you're selling on Amazon, but it's also your external platform, to build that out. So, yeah,
Right. Don't depend just on Amazon and that stuff.
exactly. Yep, yep,
Okay. Cool.
yep.
And then are you cool with me? All right. So, all right, cool. We are all set. Ready for this?
I am ready.
All right, awesome. And then I say your name, your last name is Volker?
Volker, yep, you got it.
All right, cool. Didn't want to mess that up. Then here we go.
No, I know.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Robert Plank Show. This is the Internet Marketing Podcast where we talk about building an online business. Our guest today is Scott Volker, and he's the founder and host of the Amazing Seller Podcast, which is a top-ranked business show where he helps regular, everyday people start selling their own products on Amazon.com and their own e-commerce website. So, Mr. Scott, how are things today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
can't complain. I mean, better than ever, trying new things, having fun, and so yeah, and so sort of along those lines. So there's this, this all this crazy stuff happening lately with, Amazon, and I'm seeing, and maybe some of our listeners are seeing, like a lot of these businesses like really take off with, getting plugged into all this e-commerce stuff and Shopify stuff, and
Sure.
getting into physical products and warehousing and stuff, and so can you sort of explain, like in the area that you teach? We said that you teach, like, Amazon and e-commerce websites. Can you sort of tell us like like just the very basics in a couple sentences, like what people need to know to get started with all this kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, the way I look at it is, there's some people out there saying build your business on Amazon. I'm not saying that. I'm saying go out there and use Amazon as a channel. So this way here you can validate a product rather quickly, versus going out there and having to build a website and get traffic and build your email list and all those things that we both know are very important. But why not just go out there and kind of tap into a platform that people are buying products, right? Like it's a buying platform. That's what it's there for. You search on products there to buy, not to how to tie a certain knot or something, right?
Right.
So it's not just like Google. So what I like to do is I like to use that as like a testing ground, a research ground where I can go in there, I can look at the reviews, I can see what products are doing well, which ones can use improving, and those types of things. So really, for people to get started, I think it's still, even with all the changes and stuff that like you even said before we got on here, like, I hear all these different, Facebook stories, or I'm sorry, FBA stories, and they're kind of scary, and they can be. But again, it's going to be scary, especially, or scarier, if you just bank on the one platform, which I've never been a fan of in any business that I've ever started. Right? We don't ever want to be dependent on a certain platform. So I still think that the opportunity is great. I still think there's a lot of opportunities there for people to get started, especially. But then, as soon as you understand that platform and you understand kind of like how things move online, whether it's physical products or digital products, then start taking those next steps to pivot, and then start building out your own external list, and then marketing products. Learn about marketing, and marketing is everything. We both know that. So that's where I am. I mean, I'm still a big believer in Amazon as a platform to get started, but I also think that there's a lot of room out there for people to then expand outside of Amazon.
That makes a lot of sense, and I like your mindset there in a bunch of ways, and I'm right there with you. And it probably took me a few years to even understand that first part about the buying platform. That
Yeah.
what like it sounds like a great idea to, like, make a website and make it look pretty and wait for everyone to show up, but then no one's just gonna find you and show up. And even if they show up from Google or Facebook, you don't know if they're a buyer. But if you put
Yeah.
yourself on Amazon, I mean, everyone there is a buyer, and then so then you in addition to that, you can sort of spy on your future competitors, I guess, and kind of
Yep.
feel out the marketplace. And then once you get in there, then don't depend on Amazon, because I mean, it seems like no matter what platform, everyone's going to be slapped eventually in
Mhm.
one way or another,
Exactly.
right? Like, yeah, like even if it's like eBay or Amazon or
Yep.
something, there's always some kind of weird and silly rules. And so, I mean, can you sort of tell us about, kind of like your story, and how you got started, and what happened in your first few experiences there?
Yeah, well, I won't go back all the way to when I started online, which is a whole nother show. But yeah, I mean, Amazon to me was just, again, it was an opportunity. I have other businesses that I have, that I run, and then I also have partners that I'm working with. So this isn't my only like revenue stream. I don't think anyone should have that one revenue stream, but what I was seeing was Amazon was becoming a bigger player in, physical products and even Kindle books and all that stuff, right? So they're starting to dominate everything, and to ignore it would be crazy. So I'm like, is there a way that I can sell products on Amazon, but I have no idea what I'm doing? So I started hearing about this retail arbitrage or online arbitrage, which is really where you buy products at a discount, name brand products usually, and then you just relist them on Amazon and you make the difference. So if you got 75% off of something, well, then you sell them for regular price. Or if you're selling something out there now, like it's a hot trend, you might be able to sell it for 3 times what it is. But that's just, obviously that's not normal, but that can happen. But anyway, so I just seen this opportunity. I'm like, retail arbitrage, it seems like a lot of work, because I got to go into a store. I got to start scanning different items and seeing how well they're selling. And then if I get 10 of them, that's cool. But then I got to go list them. And then after I list them, I'll sell through them. And then I got to go find 10 more. So it was just, to me, a lot of work. Now, if that's all I was doing was trying to do that because it was maybe like a side hustle or something, I probably would have did it. I know a lot of people right now that are successful just doing that model, and they're doing a six-figure business just doing retail ARB, but they're always out there, kind of, combing through the discount shelves and stuff, right?
Yeah,
So that's still a great way to
loading
start.
up the shopping cart, peeling off all the
Yep.
stickers, all that nonsense.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep. But it's, there's people making full-time livings doing that. There's a person right now that all he does is he buys for the fourth quarter. So all year long, he just buys, 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 and then he lists everything fourth quarter and sells through it, and he makes 300,000 a year. So you
Awesome.
know what I mean? Like, it's just different strokes for different folks. But anyway, so I seen this opportunity. I'm like, that's just too much work right now. I'm so busy in my other things that I'm doing. I just don't want to hassle with it. And if I'm going to do something, I'm gonna put all that energy and time into it. I want to be able to then scale it like I would a digital product. So that's when I started hearing about this thing called private labeling, and then that's where I started to kind of play around in that arena. And what that basically is, for anyone that doesn't know, it's where I'm able to take a product that is selling well, and I can make my own version of it, and then they call it private labeling or white labeling it, where I can then brand it as my own. It's the same thing that they've been doing for years in the supermarket, right? You go in there, you see a generic brand of something, and then you see the name brand, that we all know. It's the same difference. You're just putting your logo or your label on it, but hopefully making it a little bit better. That's really the key. So once I started doing that, I started doing it almost 2 years ago now, and I think it has been 2 years. I forget now, but my first run with it was just a test. I said, I'm going to go ahead and test this thing and see what happens. And I invested $5,000 in my first run of inventory, which nowadays I think I would do even less because I think you can still test it with less amounts. But I did that, and I started to get traffic, and then I started to get sales. And my first 90 days after I launched, I did over 40,000 in revenue. So it proved to me, it validated to me that I could probably do this part time on the side, and maybe, who knows, pay for I don't know, my college tuition for my kids or something, right? So it was kind of
Right.
like maybe just a little side revenue, and then it kept going, and then it kept growing a little bit, and really I wasn't putting a ton of time into it. And then I started to say, you know what, maybe I'll go ahead and share what I'm doing, because I had a bunch of people asking me, like, what are you doing? How are you doing this? I mean, privately, people that I know. And I was telling them, and I'm like, maybe I should just go out and document my story. And that's what I did. And that's where I started the podcast, having no idea that what I was doing there either. And then seeing that thing just took off, like, beyond my wildest dreams. And now, we've just hit over 5 million downloads, and just crazy. But yeah, so basically that's how I got started. I just was testing. I was just like, we'll see what happens here.
Just playing around, and then if something catches on, it's like, whoa, like
Yeah,
this worked a
then
little bit.
focus.
Now I can, yeah,
Yep.
I can refocus, and now that'll work a lot. And I mean, do you are you okay with like telling us what that first product was, or is that private?
That is private.
Okay.
But and it's funny because I just dealt with this. My first brand, I never expected for the podcast to blow up. So my first brand that I launched, I don't even really add products to anymore, because I know that I'm probably exposed out there. Right.
Right.
So it's a tricky thing out there. And when you put yourself out there in the spotlight, people are going to dig. People that are smarter than me are going to dig. They're going to do some tracing and all this stuff. And so now I really partner with people. So this way here, I can't be traced. So, it is a very guarded thing. And anyone that talks out there about this business, they're very, very protective of that, because, if you expose yourself, there's a very good chance that people are just going to go and copy you, and then, or just people that are going to go out there and try to attack you, negative reviews and all that stuff, feedback. It's same thing as like Google years ago, right? It's like if you had a website that was doing really good, your competition go in there and feed negative backlinks to it and then take you down. So yes, I'm not comfortable sharing that. I will say it was in the sports and outdoors, if that helps. Space, so which is a pretty competitive space. But yeah, I mean, it was just a regular everyday product, though. It's nothing that I had to go out there and have patents made or anything like that.
Okay, fair enough. But I mean, just sort of to give everyone an idea, sort of what kind of item you send in. Like, I mean, some people send in, like yoga mats, or like foam rollers, or like
Yep.
tennis rackets and stuff like that. And so, I mean,
Yep.
when you're looking, or maybe when you're partnering with some of these people, and you're thinking about, well, what kind of item should I sell, or what sort of item
Right.
should I narrow down? I mean, what's your thought process there? Is there any kind of like criteria, or any things that catch your eye in particular, as far as like what kind of items to private label?
Well, a lot of times it comes down to a touch list. I I call it my own personal touch list, or anyone can do their own touch list. It's where I just basically I'm starting to be aware of certain products, and a lot of times it's non-sexy. So in the beginning, I was thinking, oh, I can't wait. I'm going to launch this amazing thing that everyone's going to want to use because it's cool. But then I soon found out that that's not necessarily what you have to do. What you really have to do is just find something that people need and that they want, and then from there it will sell, even if it's an accessory to something. Or I use I use the example a lot on my podcast is the garlic press. Right. So the garlic press isn't really sexy, right? It's not really a sexy product. But if people are using garlic and if they're, cooking all the time, or maybe professional cooks or chefs, they're going to want a special one. So, you can look at something like that, like something that is needed to do a job. If you're an electrician, maybe it's certain pair of pliers, like those types of things are always good. But I always look at like the products that also could be used without really, I guess, being like a hot thing. You know what I mean? Like if it's not something that just the news is like the iPhones, right? Like everyone went out and started selling iPhone cases. I don't recommend doing that. Like I just don't, right? It's just so much competition, so easy to do. But I would say for criteria nowadays, because things have changed since I started, the review game has changed. And I know you mentioned something about that before we got on, but once stuff like that changes, you have to change your filter system, right? The way that you can kind of break things down and kind of figure out what you think might meet your own metrics. But I like to find products that can sell at least 10 units a day. And I like to see them where they can sell, make $10 profit per sale. And then from there, I can scale that out. If I sell 10 products a day, that's $100 a day. And I like that. Now, some products will do 5 a day. Some will do 25 a day. But I'm also starting to play around with a concept that I call the open brand, where we can then have an open brand where we can start to plug in various types of products and then categorize them later, if that makes sense.
So, well, I mean, I would kind of like to unpack that, but one thing I want to ask you first is I'm going to ask you at the end again, but can you sort of mention where people can subscribe to your podcast? That way, sort of as they're listening, they can go and find you and hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, it's theamazingseller.com. Just go there and you'll find the page. It's basically all my podcast and all the show notes and transcripts are there pretty much. Resources I have there. But yeah, you can find me there. If you go to iTunes, you'll find me in there if you just search for The Amazing Seller.
Okay,
But yeah,
perfect.
appreciate that.
Cool, yeah. So theamazingseller.com, and as we're talking here, make sure everyone go there and make sure you subscribe, or at least get a couple episodes downloaded. So as soon as this episode is over, you can hop on over on that one. And so this whole thing with the open brand, could you kind of explain that and maybe give us like an example of how that would work?
Yeah, and I'll just say, Robert, I apologize for being like a fire hose here. I'm just I'm kind of I got a lot of things swirling around my head whenever I'm talking about this stuff, so I want to make sure I cover them. But I tend to go off on little tangents every now and then.
Well, that's perfect. I mean, if we're too fast, people can listen twice or listen on slow speed.
Yeah.
Like they can figure it out.
Okay, cool. Yeah, okay. So the open brand, okay, initially I was like, you know what? I'm going to build out a brand in this one thing and focus in on that one thing. And I still believe that is what we should do, but there's other ways we can kind of test out products and markets before we actually go 100% all in. So what I've done now is actually with one of my partners is we have it's called an open brand concept where, and it's nothing really new, but I mean, some people have just been doing it and not even realize they're doing it. But it's where we're able, if we see a product that we really want to sell, or we think that there's a good opportunity, we don't want to feel like it doesn't fit within our brand. So if we have our generic brand, our seller's account, let's say maybe it's XYZ wholesaling or something, right? Well, then underneath that, I can list any type of product I want. But then I'm going to also start to group them together. So if I'm selling in a garlic press, it might be then a lemon press, and it might be, a garlic bag, right? So that would all go under that one category. Then I could even, do a spatula if I wanted to, and that could all be grouped there. But then if I also wanted to maybe sell a fishing rod, I could do that too. See, and then I can start to group them. And what we've recently started doing, and we talk about selling on Amazon, and you and I both talked a little bit about that before, is how we want to also work on our own platform. Well, now what we're starting to do is build out external lists in these markets. So now we can sell to these people, eventually, and give them, good content and stuff too. But we also can drive those people to our listings on Amazon if we want, and then boost our ranking. So there's a whole strategy behind that. But the open brand concept is really allowing us to be able to launch more products under, different niches. So this way here, we're not like feeling like we can't launch this because it doesn't fit within our main brand. Does that make sense?
I think so. So is what you're saying that like so you'll have the brand that's sort of like the catch-all, and you'll just kind
Yep.
of create different products, and then later on when it comes time to like group the fishing stuff or the kitchen
Yep.
stuff together, you'll rename all of those little items.
Yeah, we might even start right from scratch on naming them. Like, hey, if we have anything in the baby market, it's going to be, whatever, best baby stuff or something, right? And
Right.
then everything will get there because everything underneath your main brand will be then that brand. And then if you wanted to launch fishing gear, you could say something like Al's Fishing Gear, right? And then that could be its own category and its own brand. But then if it really started to take off and we wanted to kind of like only focus on that one thing, or we wanted to focus more time on that one thing, we could, and we've already got a name established.
Okay.
That's pretty much what we're talking about. Yeah. So, but if you looked underneath it, it's going to be like you walked into a hardware store, right? And it's got a variety of things. You might have stuff for camping, you might have stuff for fixing the sink, and then you might have something in the front that they have a lawn chair or something, right? So it's a way for you to be a store that sells multiple things under multiple markets and niches. And then this way here, if you wanted to, once you've seen that something started to take off, then you can start building a list and stuff towards that market and then start to fuel that.
I really like that, and that seems like a lot more efficient than maybe the old way of doing it. Because before you might get sort of locked into a certain category, you might be
Mhm.
sort of thinking too much about how things fit together. And this is cool because this way, like if you get bored of a certain niche or you want to
Yep.
experiment in something else, you can just kind of try it and then like you said, restart that under a new brand later.
Yeah, no, we're loving it, and honestly, right now we're doing some case study stuff too that we're working on, and one of them is really we're starting to, and if anyone, even if you're not selling on Amazon, this works really good to build a list. But what we're doing is we're running like a contest around our market now. So let's say that we want to build something in the fishing space. Well, I would take the top fishing gear right now that's selling. Maybe there's a fishing rod, maybe there's a tackle box, maybe there's a vest that you wear, and I would take all that and I would do like a contest, and I would promote that contest on Facebook and Instagram and maybe YouTube. I'd find influencers, and then I'm going to drive them to my contest, and I'm going to have them win this one prize or this one prize. They're going to all enter to win that. But now I'm building a list of targeted people that are into that market. Now on the back end of that, I may sell accessories that are related to that market. And then what I can do is I can use that as my launch list. So if I launch a new product on Amazon, then all I have to do now is just let people know, hey, I've got this new product we just launched. We're going to give it to you guys for 25% off our regular price because you guys are awesome or whatever, right? And then
Yeah.
we're going to drive them over to Amazon. They're going to buy it there. It's going to boost our rank in Amazon. And then we're going to start getting eyeballs on Amazon that we wouldn't have had before. So that's kind of what we're playing with now.
And that's awesome. And it sounds like that's the kind of thing where it can kind of build and build because it's like you use Amazon and you get these leads and you build this list and you send it
Mhm.
back to Amazon and it's like they've already proven that they know how to navigate Amazon. They
Yep.
trust you as a seller. They know how to buy and all that good stuff. And I like that this idea keeps coming up that well like the big platform like your Amazon type of marketplace is a fast start, but then you've been always aware that you had to build this brand outside of it. Like you've built
Totally.
the podcast, and you have like the contests and stuff like that, and all the Facebook stuff. And so I kind of want to. I kind of want to talk about that. So if people are, either thinking about getting started on Amazon, or maybe they've already got some traction on Amazon, I mean, what should they be doing to get those buyers off of Amazon? And the other thing I kind of want to get to in a couple of minutes here is that whole review situation too.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, if you're on Amazon, if you're only selling on Amazon right now, it's hard. It's really hard to get their email address. Okay, because Amazon will not allow you to see it. So there's a couple things you can do. You can do insert cards inside of your packaging. So this way here, you can just say, hey, to receive maybe 5 videos that help you with this, that, or the other thing, go here, or to register your item, whatever. Right? You can do that. It's within the terms of service. You can still do that, no problem. Now it will probably be a very low, maybe a 1%, 2% take on that, but still better than nothing. Now, they do give you phone numbers, or they used to give you phone numbers. Not sure if they still do. Some are, some aren't. And then what we used to be able to do is take all the phone numbers and export them and then upload them into Facebook and then do a retargeting ad to those. Again, a little bit more advanced, but that's another option that you can do with them. But what I like to do is not necessarily even worry about the sales that are coming through on Amazon as far as capturing them other than my insert cards. I'd rather go the other way and go out there and put that big prize that they can win in my market and then let them know about the products that I sell on Amazon. And then from there, I can take that list once I build it and I can then re-upload that to Facebook and then do retargeting and then lookalike audiences and stuff like that. So I think moving forward, for people that are, if they are selling on Amazon, I would say build that external list just by running a contest around your product. The mistake I see people making is they're like, okay, cool, Scott, I'm going to run this contest for my item, right? So your item might only sell for 25 bucks. I'm going to tell you, you're not going to get a lot of signups. No one cares about $25. What they care about is $150 or $200 prize, right? So once we realized that, I mean, we did a case study. We had a live event that we were going to teach this at, and we did that. And we only wanted to get 1,000 leads. We got 2,200 by the time we did that, and that was only for 2 weeks. After that contest finished running, we had about what was it, about 7,200 emails, and it cost
Dang.
us about $1,000.
Whew.
Okay, because the prize we gave away was $150. Then we did some Instagram sponsored posts, and then we also did some Facebook ads. So we spent about $1,000 for 7,200 emails, and these are all specific to this market. Now, that leads us into the review thing here now, because people are saying like, well, Scott, I heard that you have to get a whole bunch of reviews in order to compete. Well, going back to product research, we're going after products now that have low reviews but still have sales. So that's one criteria that I would be looking at. If you're looking at products that are selling 10 a day or 20 a day and they have 500 or more reviews, I'd stay away from that. That's me personally. Doesn't mean it won't work. It just means it's going to be harder. We're finding products now that have 100 or less reviews and still selling 10 a day. Actually, we just launched a product here in the fourth quarter with 0 reviews, and we were selling 15 a day. It went up to over 150 a day. Obviously, that's because it's fourth quarter and it was a hot product, and it was a trend, but it's still possible. But when people are saying, well, how do I get reviews now? Because Amazon recently, for anyone that's listening and hasn't heard this big update, and everyone would say the sky's falling, what are we going to do? I didn't really panic because it was never my strategy moving product. It just wasn't. I mean, yes, we did a little bit of a promo, maybe 100 units, and then we would, ask for a review. But what they did is they changed it now where you cannot incentivize your buyer in exchange for a review. So you can't say, hey, I'll give you my product for $1 if you give me a review. Can't do that anymore. So there was actually groups out there that would review products, and all they had to do is say that they would review the product. So again, these groups were made for reviews. Can't do it anymore. So how do you get around that? Well, you build your own list, and then you let them know that you have a deal or a flash sale, and then you sell product just like you would if it was a group for reviews. But the cool thing about it is the review groups that used to be, or that, there's still some out there, but those were all for people that were just raising their hand going, I'll take any product for free, basically, right?
Right.
I'm all these different markets. I have no idea who that person is as a store owner, but I know that they'll buy a product or get it for free and then leave me a review. Well, what I've done is I've got a list of 7,200 people that I know are interested in, let's say, the fishing space, because I raffled off a fishing rod and a tackle box and all this stuff, and I sell fishing stuff. Which one's a better audience?
The one
you
that you
know?
built, right?
Exactly, right? So I have that. I own it. I don't have to. Now, on those groups, before you would basically pay to have access to it, and then you would give away your product, and then you're done. You got no emails, none. But now I've got 7,200 emails that I can use for retargeting. I could use it for a lookalike audience. I could let them know about my next product. I could have them help me with my next product and say, what do you guys like in this product? There's so much more that you can do. So that's what I'm excited about, moving forward here in 2017.
And that, I mean, that your way sounds a lot more long term. Like the other way of
Totally.
having the fake reviews is just to kind of have a few and have it look fake and have it boost in the ranking. But then, I mean, what does that get you? You get a higher ranking, but I mean, there's still a lot of work ahead of you. And even like as a buyer, I would, I don't know, like if I was gonna buy something, like I had to buy some like pool accessories like this past summer, and like when I would
Yeah.
go as a buyer and look at some of these listings, like if every single review was like super enthusiastic and all these exclamation points, I'm like, I don't think like all these people are that enthused about a pool filter. So it was
Yeah.
like it was kind of, it kept messing me up. I was like not buying because the reviews were so good. And then I mean I've sort of I phased a lot of Amazon out of my business, but I guess there's also that whole friends and family thing with the reviews. Is that right too? Like Amazon will somehow now track you down or know if if a family member or a friend actually buys and leaves a review on you?
Well, they pretty much always knew that, and part of my strategy when I first launched my first product, that's what I did. I contacted my friends and family and said, "Hey, I've got a product. I want to give you a code where you go through and buy it for me and leave me a review." I didn't say you had to go leave me a 5-star, but I just said leave me a review. And the thing is if you've ever done any business, like if I've sent you something, Robert, if I sent you like an item through Amazon as a gift, we're linked now. So there's no way that I'm going to leave a review for you, and there's no way you're going to leave one for me. We've just established a relationship.
Oh,
But if you've
geez.
never purchased anything for each other, like if you've never sent your dad or mother a gift or a package from Amazon, there's no link there that you guys are related. So that's how they know that you're related for the most part. Okay. So if you've ever done that, then yes. And it won't be like you'll get like banned from Amazon. It just means that the review ain't going to show up. So my whole strategy in the beginning, and even right now, really, is your base set of reviews that you're getting is really just to get the ball rolling. Then you're going to start piling on organic reviews that come through your normal customers. So I basically send out 3 emails to my customer, all the same. Doesn't matter if you did it through a discount code or if you bought full price, doesn't matter. They all get the same, and that's what Amazon wants too. And I basically just make sure that they're happy, let them know who I am, let them know that I'm a small business, family-run business, and that we want to make sure that you received everything okay. And oh, by the way, will you do me a favor? Let Amazon know the kind of job we did. That's it. I don't say give me a 5-star. Like some guys were saying, and girls, they were saying, could you do me a favor and leave me a 5-star review here? And if you have anything less than a 5-star, email me. Can't do that.
Oh,
Like
geez.
that, you can't do that. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're totally saying I only want a 5-star review. I've never done that, and I've never promoted that, and I've never said to do that. But that's what I've always said. I've always said get your base reviews, whether it's 5 reviews, however you get them. I mean, obviously, you want to be white hat about it, but then you build on them with all of your normal sales. So if you're getting 10 sales a day, 10 people are going to get emails and saying, just want to make sure you're happy. Here's a free PDF with some ways to use your new product or some recipes or whatever. And you just basically give good customer service. I mean, it's just basic 101 marketing, right? It
Right.
really is.
I mean, imagine that, like all the things that all these brick and mortar businesses have been doing, as opposed
Yeah.
to the trying to
Yeah.
trying to find a loophole, right?
No, no, no. The loopholes are only there for. I mean, we've seen it with Google, right? And we talk about Google slaps. You brought up eBay. I was selling on eBay. Gosh, going back probably 8 or 9 years ago now. And I don't know if you remember. Remember when they would allow digital downloads there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so they had penny books, right? So people were doing penny books. Again, the marketers ruined it for us because they were doing a penny ebook, and then once that you would do that, they'd give you the download, but then they would try to solicit you, or they would try to, get your email address, right? So I was selling GarageBand loops. I don't know if you ever heard of the program GarageBand. It's for Mac. It's a recording. I'm a guitar player, so it was recording software. I made these loops. I made them all myself, 1,000 of them, and I was selling those on eBay, 1,000 of them for like $24, right? It was like a little expansion pack. And then they did away with the digital download. I'm like, oh, that sucks. I was selling like 5 or 6 a day. It was easy. Now they made it where you had to send a physical, product. So I had to put them on a CD or a DVD. No problem. I did that. But again, they've changed. We changed with it. Same thing with Google. Same thing with Amazon. It's a platform. They're going to change the rules, and you just got to abide by them, and then also have your own platform.
Awesome, and sort of play both sides there, and sort of along those lines, like I don't want to keep you too long here, but part of what you teach is to get started on Amazon and then build on like your own website, your own e-commerce. So can you kind of tell us about that? About what should people be doing once they're rocking and rolling on Amazon? What should they be doing in addition to this list building? But should they be setting up their own like Shopify or anything else like that? Like what should they be doing as far as building outside of Amazon?
Well, you're gonna not like this answer, but it really depends.
Okay.
Because it just depends. Like if you have some products that are selling on Amazon, but it doesn't really allow itself to be like a big brand or something. So like you don't want to build out a huge store and all this stuff, right? I believe that you'll kind of know if it lends itself to a full out website or e-commerce store. Okay. But the one thing that will remain the same across anything is building your list. And then when you build your list, if you are going to have content that's going to help people understand your product before they buy it, then you need a website, and then you need an e-commerce attached to that. That's just the way it works. Right? If you have a higher ticketed price, it's going to take a little bit more convincing. So you have to educate them, right? So I think it just depends on what you're selling. I know personally that I could probably sell as much, depending on the product, with just 3 web pages, like an opt-in page, a landing page, for that, a thank you page, and then maybe a follow-up, right? I could do it like with that. I could build like a little mini funnel. I could drive Facebook ads, build my list, all that stuff. So some people try to overcomplicate it. I think the list is the most important part, because then I can use it on my own platform, and then I can also use it to push over to Amazon or any other platform for that matter. And I can then take that list and then upload it to Facebook and then retarget and then get new buyers or new potential buyers using it for that as well. So that's, I know that wasn't a great answer, but I think it just really does depend on what you're selling and what kind of education goes behind it. Because I do believe that educating your customer before they buy a lot of times can be what it takes, because sometimes they got to see it 4 or 5 different times. So one simple way that we've played around with doing this is you take your Facebook ad, you drive them over to a piece of content, not even to buy the product, and then from there we have a pixel on that page that now sets them up as a retargeting campaign, and now they either got a chance on that blog post after they get done being educated to either buy it, or we can follow up by email. Because we can give them another offer by the retargeting, and then we can hopefully capture their email. So again, it does depend on the product or the brand that you're building, but I see it work both ways. But the email, to me, the email list still today, and people are saying, "Oh, email's dead." I don't think it's dead. I don't think it is. I think it's you're away from the noise of social media in a sense. So the sooner we can get them to that point, I think the better.
Okay, and I mean, I think that answer is good just as far as people's like long-term strategy, because I mean, having that sort of advice that build like whatever year people are listening to this in, or whenever they're whatever year they find themselves like trying to build their business, whatever building the list means in that period of time, build that list. Kind of like
Yeah.
we mentioned eBay. Well, people were doing the eBay thing because it was all about building the list. The Amazon thing, well, the ones that are kind of struggling or trying to do loopholes aren't building the list, but the ones that are doing great are building the list. So it sounds sort of like build the list any way you can, and plug into whatever
Hmm.
the hot trends are, like the Facebook pixel or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
But build the list sort of any way that you can. And I really like your mindset of just, it sounds like you do a lot of experimenting and kind of like throwing different things at the wall and see what sticks, and
Sure.
if it sticks, then do more of that. And so sort of as we're kind of reaching the tail end of this and starting to wind down here, I mean, when you see all these other Amazon sellers, these other e-commerce sellers, like, do you see everyone making like a huge number one mistake? Is there like a common mistake you just keep seeing over and over again?
Well, I see a lot of people. I see people just thinking about the one platform. I think that's one of the biggest things. Like when people say, like, "Oh gosh, what happens now? I can't sell on Amazon because my account is under review," or I can't send an inventory because I'm a new seller and they're not letting us send in until the 19th of December. Like that just recently happened, right? So to me, it's those people that are like so close-minded and only trying to build it on the one platform. I see that as a big mistake, and not thinking bigger and further down the line. That's one big thing. The other thing is, I think for people that just start, they think that their first product that they launch is going to be a home run. You want to shoot for like a single. You know what I mean? Like you want to go out there and learn through that process. And once you learn a skill set, you'll take that wherever you go. Everything that I've learned up to this point, since I've been 20 years old, has taught me and got me to where I am today. And without those experiences, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I just say that people think that they can go out there and just find one product and it's going to be a home run, and if it's not, then it doesn't work. I just think that it takes persistence, it takes hard work, and it takes just going out there and just testing more and more.
Right, right. I mean, why stop 3 feet before the gold? And also, yeah,
Yeah.
and I can totally relate to like, if someone goes out there and makes all the mistakes on Amazon, then they'll kind of get in their head about like, what to put in the product description, or like how to deal
Yep.
with the supplier. So then when it comes time, I mean, maybe some other platform maybe Alibaba or Google will come out with something that'll like become bigger than Amazon someday, or Walmart or something. Like whatever the big
Hmm.
platform is, at some point these skills will still translate. And even just and as far as the whole like diversifying, I mean, again, like this applies to everything, because I mean, what if everyone out there, what if they had a whole business depending on PayPal, or people
Mm,
put out, we mentioned Kindle books, if they were
yeah.
completely locked into that, it's like, well, what if one day Kindle decides to pay everyone half what they're paying them as far as the royalties, or there's
Right.
some kind of slap. Which I mean, there's always a slap because these marketplaces are huge. So I mean, a lot of that makes sense to start with one platform and kind of see it through, but then know when you're kind of outgrowing it or when it's time to expand. That way, you're not putting all your eggs in one basket and have this sort of this experimenter sort of mindset. And so sort of along those lines, I mean, I want to let people know, like, where they can find you and where they can hear about your experiments and your ups and downs. So can you sort of tell us about your websites and what you have going on and where people can find those?
Yeah, sure. The easiest place is theamazingseller.com. That's the best place. I have a workshop that I generally do once a week. Right now, we're taking a few weeks off because of the holidays, but you can always go to theamazingseller.com/workshop, and that'll take you there. We do a full free training there, showing people how to start, on Amazon and find those products and then launch them and all of those things. So you can always register for that. And we have a great Facebook group, almost about 40,000 people in the Facebook group now. So if anyone's interested, they'll find it by going to theamazingseller.com. But I would just say start there. There's a lot of resources there. There's a start here page. There's a resources page, and all that stuff. And I'm always accessible. So if anyone wants to reach out, more than welcome to. And I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Perfect. Very generous of you. So cool. So theamazingseller.com. Everyone should go there right now to find about that about the podcast, about all that stuff, and then theamazingseller.com/workshop to find that exact workshop. So I mean, Scott, thanks so much for stopping by. I mean, we talked about lots of subjects. We got really narrowed and focused, and then we got really broad and really narrowed and focused again, and it was kind of a lot of fun. So I like your mindset and your strategy and all these things that you've done, and there's all kinds of facts and steps and things that people can get just from this interview alone. So if you like this interview, maybe listen to it a couple times because there's lots of stuff in there. And if you like everything that Scott has to say, which I think you do, if you're listening, if you made it this far, go to theamazingseller.com. So thanks so much, Scott, for stopping by the show today.
Hey, Robert, I want to thank you, and I appreciate it. And good luck to you as well.
Thank you. Cool. And that is saving, and that is, whoops, that is coming out, I believe, January 18th.
Cool.
So about a month away. And I'll let you know
Yeah, let me know.
when that's live, and I'll put it on the rotation and all that stuff.
Cool. Yeah, I'll let my folks know about it.
Alrighty, heck yeah then. Well, have yourself a good weekend, and happy
All right, man.
holidays too.
Yeah, you too. Thanks. Take care,
Thank you.
Robert.
Bye.
Yep. Bye.
All right, so let's see. Are we still streaming? I don't know. I think it dropped off for a second, but it said it reconnected. So I'm about to hop off the stream there. So I hope you kind of saw. I mean, I guess it's a little time consuming just to kind of sit there and do it. But I mean, the person is kind of friendly. We just kind of chit chat, and then a lot of the times, like I kind of go through the same sort of questions, right? Like I start with the bio, and then I kind of like either like something will jump out at me, like if they have something unique, or in this case it was like, okay, well, Amazon, not really sure where to start, so I started with where he got started, and then that kind of led into, and usually that leads us into like some kind of things that we can unpack. And I mean, he was a really great guest, and that's also cool too, like when you hop on someone else's show, which is like in the new year, this is something that I really want to do, is hop on other people's shows, because I mean, when if they're used to talking, it's so easy. Like, I mean, you just, it sounds bad, but like you can't shut them up, right? And so that's really cool. And so yeah, so that episode, what I'm gonna do, well, I saved it. Let me see if you guys can see. I got a page of notes, some chicken scratch. But out of these, I mean, there's probably like five or six things, and basically what I did is, like, if he said something, I would just kind of jot it down. And I mean, there's something to, like, even though it seems monotonous to you, there's something to just jotting down what it is they said and then kind of repeating back to them, even just to kind of like make sure that you understand. Because I mean, even if you think you're really dumbing it down, I mean, you're not dumbing it down enough. And then a lot of times, like by writing it down, you can sort of find those commonalities. Like you might have noticed near the end, I was talking about eBay and Kindle and stuff like that. And then what I like to do near the end to sort of get it so it's not just an abrupt stop. I near the end I ask about, like, what's the big common mistake, and then somewhere in there, sometimes I'll ask about like a case study or an example. So if you're attending podcasts, sort of keep those things in mind. Have like a really cool story or a really cool case study in your back pocket, and then have that answer ready as well, as far as what's the big mistake you're seeing in in eBay, in Amazon FBA, and all that cool stuff. And so yeah, and then at the very end, just to really end the show, I just make sure to ask, where's your website? Because guess what, they took the time out, right? They shared all this stuff, and so you need to kind of return the favor and tell people where their website is. And I always kind of, I don't know, it might just be me, but when they say about their website, then I'll just make sure to kind of repeat that, just to, I don't know, like just to really make sure that if people are listening, we don't just kind of brush through the URL. Like really make sure that they go to that site. And so we're going to type that up. We're going to upload the audio. We're going to put it on a blog post. We're going to have a 5 or 6 bullet points, and then have some live links there. And then, actually, you know what? Before we sign off, I'll show you one final thing. One final thing. I hope the live stream. Let's see how long of this live stream been going. All right, it's been going for about it. We'll cut it. We'll stop the live stream right at about the hour mark, hopefully. So one last thing that I want to show you is along the lines of knowing where you're at and using the checklist to get a lot more stuff done. So basically, I have all these interviews I've run, right? And what I do is I keep track of if they're scheduled in WordPress. Looks like I only have a few, so I need to get caught up there. But I have this column for Twitter, right? And so today is the 16th. So look at this. So it looks like we're posted to Twitter up until last Friday. So I have about 6 or so tweets I need to make about my podcast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up eClincher, and I'm going to open up Twitter. And in this last couple of minutes, I'll sort of show you about that. And I'll open up my website. Okay. So what we want to do is I want to have not only have a tweet about John Pollock's episode, but also have it on the Twitter rotation over and over. I'm going to be zooming around really fast. Again, maybe I'll put a URL in here. If we have the URL here, be podcastcrusher.com. That way we can make sure that you find it, podcastcrusher.com, and that's where we show you like how to use this eClincher stuff and all that. So basically, what we're going to do is I'm going to log in, and so I just basically have this huge, they call it a queue, but a huge list of upcoming tweets, and then it'll every like I don't know every like hour or something, it'll tweet something else in a random order. I reshuffle it every week or so. But then what's really unique about eClincher, because I mean you might have heard about like Hootsuite or Meet Edgar or some of these, and some of them you can schedule out tweets. But what is unique to eClincher is you can recycle. So I can have this queue of like 200 something podcast episodes. Once it gets to the end, it starts over. So I can just let this run forever and forget it's even going, and then years later go like, oh, holy crap, this is tweeted out thousands and thousands of times. And so, hoping that this works on a small screen. It looks like it might not be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give me a second here. So, all right. So I've got this eClincher in the other screen, and I want to make sure that my spreadsheet is up to date. And I think that we said that the latest one that's out there is 198. Cool, that's on there. And then is 199 on there? No, it is not. Awesome. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the link. So we want 199. So I'll just right click and copy that. And then we will add a post to this particular queue. And we're going to paste this in, and it's going to go out there. It's shortening the URL. It's grabbing a picture of this dude. And then if I have some extra space, I can look him up on Twitter and at him. And this way, every time it puts out this tweet, it ats him. So let me just search Twitter John Pollock. And then if they have a common name, I might search like financial gravity. So there's an MMA thing. So let me try financial and John Pollock Inc. So that is the guy for sure. So what I want to do is I just want to grab this John Pollock Inc. So right click and copy that his Twitter username. And then sometimes there's only room for their username, but this time there's room for both. So I'll put in that, and then I'll put in like a hashtag like podcast. And yeah, maybe we'll say like taxes or something. I don't know. Finances, who knows? So I've got this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to right click, I'm going to copy it. I'm going to put it in the list of tweets. But I also want to tweet about this right now. So I'll go to my Twitter right now, and I'll put that in there. And then I need to grab his picture also. So we'll just go to the post itself, and goes a lot faster when I don't have to say all this stuff. But we're going to post this. I'm going to attach an image, and we're going to attach the image we just grabbed off of our website. And so that's uploaded, and that's on the rotation, and then I'll shuffle that, and then I can mark off, yes, I want to save the new order, and then I'm going to mark off that. So I haven't sent him a email letting him know it's live, but I have posted it to eClincher. So I'm going to hop off the stream now. In the next 5 minutes, I'm going to be posting or putting the thing out for the Nick Loper episode, for the Heather Havenwood episode, for Tom Corson Knowles, all these people. That way they see that that I'm actually promoting their stuff, right? And then later on, I'm going to send out an email with the template saying I followed up. So, I mean, there's lots of little things. Sort of like if you listen to I hope that audio came through, the audio with Scott, like even with Amazon, with everything, there's lots of little things. And maybe you start off with just, okay, I'm just going to record the podcast episode. I'm just going to put out something. And then maybe get a handle on getting your one guest, right? Getting your one interview on there. And then you get a handle maybe on having a transcript. Maybe, and then you get a handle on some of the Twitter stuff. You can always get caught back up on Twitter stuff later, because you even saw that I'm about 5 days behind. And sometimes I'll get a week or two behind, and sometimes have to get completely caught up. So I think the person I had coming up next canceled on me. Yes, they did. So again, time for me to hop off the computer, get back and enjoy life. I really wish I was seeing Rogue One today, but we're holding out for these. There's this theater near us, like a Galaxy brand theater, and they have these things called D-Box where you can like lay in the recliner and like vibrates and moves. So I mean, maybe that. But anyway, I hope that helped. I hope that made sense. Podcastcrusher.com is the place to go to do that whole interview thing. So I hope that helped. Robert Plank from podcastcrusher.com. Thanks for watching the live stream.